Most people don't set a clear rule for how they live. They just go through each day, reacting to whatever happens and hoping life will somehow get better. But nothing changes until you choose one powerful rule that guides every choice you make. Not 5 rules, not 10 goals, just one. That one decision will shape how you work, how you think, and how you handle every challenge. This isn't theory, it's about real life. It's about waking up tomorrow, knowing exactly what you stand for, and following it no matter what. Once you do, you'll feel more focused, more in control, and more confident about where your life is going. In this video, I'll show you how to find that one rule, stick to it, and use it to completely shift your life starting today. This is where real change begins. Chapter 1. Decide exactly how you want to live, starting today. When you wake up in the morning, you have a choice. You can live by default, letting the day pull you in whatever direction it wants. Or you can live by design, deciding what kind of life you truly want and starting to shape it from this moment. This is not about someday in the future. This is not about when things get better. It's about today. Because if you don't decide now, you'll keep repeating the same days, weeks, and years. Most people think life is something that just happens. They react to events, they deal with problems, and they hope something good will eventually come along. But if you live this way, you give away control over your future. The truth is, no one is going to hand you the life you dream about. You have to define it, claim it, and commit to it. And it starts with making a clear decision about how you want to live. You have to be honest with yourself. What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to spend your time? What kind of work will make you proud? Who do you want around you? What kind of person do you want to become? These are not small questions. These are the questions that shape everything, and if you don't answer them, the world will answer for you, and you may not like the answer. When you make a decision about how you want to live, it changes the way you see the world. Suddenly, you stop tolerating things that don't fit that vision. You stop wasting time on activities that take you nowhere. You stop letting other people's expectations dictate your choices. You start to notice that every decision you make either moves you toward your vision or away from it. And that awareness alone can shift your life more than anything else. It's not enough to say you want a better life. That's too vague. You need to define it in specific, clear terms. What does better mean for you? Is it earning more money so you can have freedom? Is it building strong relationships? Is it developing a skill you've always wanted? Is it being in great health? You have to see it clearly in your mind, down to the details, so your brain knows exactly what you're working toward. When you decide how you want to live, you must also decide what you are no longer willing to accept. This is where real change starts. Maybe you've been accepting less than you deserve in your work, in your relationships, in your habits. Maybe you've been tolerating situations that drain you, people who hold you back, or routines that keep you stuck. Once you decide what you want, you draw a line and say no more. You refuse to keep living in a way that doesn't match your decision. It's a powerful shift because you stop drifting. Drifting through life is dangerous. It feels easy at first because you're just going with the flow, but that flow often leads you somewhere you don't want to be. And the longer you drift, the harder it is to turn the direction around. That's why today matters so much. You can set a new direction right now. Some people are afraid to decide how they want to live because they think they'll fail. They think, what if I decide and it doesn't work out? But the truth is, not deciding is the real failure. If you never decide, you never try. If you never try, you never learn. And if you never learn, you stay exactly where you are. Deciding does not guarantee success on the first attempt, but it guarantees growth. And growth is the only path to the life you want. When you start living based on a clear decision, you will feel a new sense of purpose. You'll wake up knowing what you're working toward. Your days will have more direction. You'll feel more control because you're no longer reacting. You're acting. Even small steps will feel different because they're now connected to something bigger. You're no longer just doing things, you're building your life. To decide how you want to live, you have to slow down and reflect. Look at where you are right now. Be brutally honest about what's working and what's not. Look at how you spend your time. Look at the people you spend it with. Look at the work you do every day. Does it all match the life you want to create? If it doesn't, then you have your answer. It's time to change. Change doesn't happen because you read a book or listen to a speech. Change happens because you choose, and then you act on that choice consistently. If you want a better life, you can't just wish for it. You have to change your priorities. You have to change your priorities. You have to change what you say yes to, and what you say no to. One of the most important parts of this decision is ownership. You have to own your life completely. That means no blaming, no excuses, no waiting for someone else to make things better. The moment you own your life is the moment you can change it. Because if you're responsible for where you are, then you also have the power to change where you're going. Deciding how you want to live also means being clear about your values. Your values are the principles you're willing to stand for, no matter what. They guide your decisions when things get hard. They help you stay on track when you're tempted to give up. If you value growth, you'll keep learning even when it's difficult. If you value honesty, you'll tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. If you value discipline, you'll follow through even when no one is watching. Once you know your values and your vision, you can create daily actions that match them. That's how you bring your decision to life. If your decision is to be healthy, you eat better and move your body every day. If your decision is to be financially free, you spend less, save more, and invest wisely. If your decision is to build strong relationships, you make time for people and you show them you care. Your decision shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. This is not about perfection. You will make mistakes. You will have setbacks. That's normal. The point is not to live perfectly, but to live intentionally. If you fall off track, you get back on. If you face a challenge, you adjust your approach. Your decision stays the same, even if your methods change. That's how you keep moving forward. The difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck often comes down to this. Successful people decide and commit, while others keep waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time, there's only now. And the longer you wait, the more you train yourself to delay your own life. Every day you live without deciding is another day spent building a life you don't want. And here's the hard truth. Your life today is the result of decisions you made in the past. If you want tomorrow to look different, you have to make different decisions now. It doesn't matter where you are starting from. What matters is that you start. If you've been wasting time, decide today to stop. If you've been letting fear hold you back, decide today to face it. If you've been settling for less than you deserve, decide today to raise your standards. Your life is too important to live on autopilot. You have dreams inside you. You have potential you haven't used yet. But none of it will come to life until you decide how you want to live. That decision is the switch that turns everything on. When you decide, you give yourself permission to become who you were meant to be. You stop living small. You stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You claim your life as your own. This is the moment to be clear. This is the moment to be honest with yourself. This is the moment to stop drifting. Decide exactly how you want to live starting today, and then live it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because your future self is depending on the choice you make today, and the quality of your life will rise or fall based on that one choice. Chapter 2. Remove one excuse that you keep telling yourself. Every person carries a set of excuses that they've told themselves for years. These excuses are not harmless. They shape decisions, limit opportunities, and keep potential locked away. They sound reasonable at first, even logical, but when you look closely, you realize they are nothing more than permissions you've given yourself to avoid doing what's necessary. Removing even one excuse can open a door you didn't think you could walk through. Excuses are tricky because they often feel like truth. You repeat them so many times that you stop questioning them. They become part of your thinking, like a background voice reminding you of your limits. Maybe you've told yourself you don't have enough time. Maybe you've said you don't have enough money, talent, or connections. Or maybe you've convinced yourself you're too old, too young, too busy, too tired, or too late. Each of these excuses has the same effect. It keeps you where you are. When you hold on to an excuse, you hand over control to something outside yourself. You tell your mind, "This is the reason I can't change," and then your mind stops looking for a way forward. That's why removing an excuse is not just about rejecting a false belief. It's about taking back authority over your own life. You might believe your excuse is unique, but if you spoke it out loud to others, you'd quickly see how common it is. Almost everyone uses the same handful of excuses, just in different words. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is that the first group refuses to let excuses run their lives. They replace excuses with responsibility. They may not have the answers right away, but they commit to finding them. The first step to removing an excuse is to identify it clearly. That means being honest enough to say, "This is the thing I keep telling myself that holds me back." Sometimes it's hard to see because you've been repeating it for so long, but if you look at every area of your life where you feel stuck, you'll find a story you tell yourself that explains why you haven't moved forward. That story is your excuse. Once you name it, you can begin to challenge it. Ask yourself, is this always true? Is there anyone who has succeeded despite this same challenge? Have I ever proven this excuse wrong, even once? Often you'll find that your excuse falls apart under honest examination. You might remember a time you acted despite the excuse and things turned out better than you expected. That's proof that it can be done again. Removing an excuse is not about denying reality. It's about refusing to let a challenge be the end of the story. You may have limited time, but you can use the time you have more effectively. You may not have certain resources now, but you can take steps to get them. You may have made mistakes in the past, but you can learn from them and move forward. The difference is in your response. Excuses thrive in the absence of action. The longer you wait to take a step, the more convincing the excuse becomes. That's why one of the fastest ways to weaken an excuse is to act in spite of it. Even a small action sends a message to yourself, "This excuse does not control me anymore." You may not solve the entire problem today, but proving to yourself that you can start changes how you see everything. Another thing to remember is that excuses often protect comfort. They keep you from doing something uncomfortable, challenging, or unfamiliar. Your mind prefers the known over the unknown, even if the known is limiting. That's why you must be willing to feel discomfort if you want to break free from an excuse. Discomfort is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign you're moving beyond what's been holding you back. If you want to remove an excuse for good, replace it with a better truth. For example, instead of "I don't have time," you might tell yourself, "I will make time for what matters most." Instead of "I'm not ready," say, "I can start now and improve along the way." This shift in language shapes your thinking, and your thinking shapes your actions. You will face moments when the old excuse tries to come back. It will sound familiar, safe, and even reasonable. In those moments, Remind yourself of what that excuse has cost you. Think about the opportunities you've missed, the growth you've delayed, the experiences you've avoided. Use that memory as fuel to push forward. The truth is, one excuse can be the root cause of years of stagnation. If you keep telling yourself the same story, you keep living the same result. But once you remove it, you create space for new actions, new results, and new possibilities. You begin to operate from a place of choice instead of limitation. Sometimes the excuse is tied to fear, fear of failing, fear of looking foolish, fear of losing something you already have. Fear is normal, but it doesn't have to be in control. You don't need to get rid of fear before you act. You just need to act while fear is present. Each time you do, the excuse tied to that fear loses its power. There's also a deeper truth. Excuses often hide a lack of belief in yourself. You use the excuse to protect yourself from trying because you're afraid of discovering you're not capable. But here's the reality. You won't know what you're capable of until you try, and trying without the excuse is the only way to find out. Removing an excuse is a declaration that you are responsible for your future. No one else is going to do it for you. Waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect condition is just another way of avoiding action. Life doesn't give guarantees before you start. It rewards movement, effort, and persistence. You might think removing one excuse won't make a big difference, but it can change more than you expect. When you drop one excuse, you begin to question others. You start to see where else you've been holding back. You notice patterns you didn't see before, and once you've proven to yourself that you can remove one, you start removing more. This builds confidence, momentum, and clarity. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll do it when"? That when never seems to come. The reason is simple. The when is the excuse, and the only way to break it is to act without waiting for perfect conditions. That's how you take back your life from the grip of excuse. If you commit to removing just one excuse today, you set in motion a change that can ripple through every part of your life. You might find that the thing you thought was holding you back was never the real problem. The real problem was giving it permission to stand. Now that permission is gone. From this point forward, you can look at the thing you've been avoiding and say, "I'm going to deal with this now." That's the turning point. Not next year, not next month, not next week. Now, because the longer you wait, the more rooted the excuse becomes. So choose the one that has cost you the most. The one you've been using to justify inaction. The one that has kept you in the same place for far too long. Remove it, replace it with action. Watch how quickly your perspective changes. From there, keep going. Each excuse you remove frees you to take another step, to open another door, to live with more freedom. And it all starts with the decision to stop telling yourself the same limiting story. That's when you discover how much more you are capable of. That's when life begins to open in ways you didn't think possible. Chapter 3. Give full effort to the thing you avoid the most. Every one of us has something we keep pushing to the side. It might be a difficult conversation we know we need to have. It might be a project we've been delaying because it feels overwhelming. It might be a personal challenge we've avoided for years because it forces us to face discomfort. This one thing sits in the back of our mind, quietly draining our confidence. Every day we put it off, it grows heavier. And the truth is, avoiding it doesn't make it go away. It only makes it stronger. The things we avoid often hold the greatest potential for growth. The reason we avoid them is the same reason we need to do them. They make us uncomfortable. They force us to stretch. They demand skills or courage we're not yet confident in. And because they challenge us in this way, they have the power to change us when we finally face them. Giving full effort to what you avoid the most is a game changer. It shifts the balance of control. Instead of that challenge controlling you, you take control over it. Instead of your days being shaped by fear, doubt, or hesitation, they start being shaped by determination and progress. That shift changes how you see yourself. It's not just about completing a task, it's about breaking a cycle. Avoidance creates a habit. The more you avoid something, the easier it becomes to keep avoiding it. You start finding reasons to do other things. You convince yourself you're not ready yet. But when you decide to give your best effort to the very thing you've been avoiding, you replace that habit with a new one. The habit of tackling what matters most. The first step is to bring it into the open. Stop letting it hide in the back of your mind. Write it down. Say it out loud. Acknowledge that this is the thing you've been avoiding. That act alone removes some of its power. Because once you see it clearly, you can no longer pretend it's not there. Next, you have to make the choice to address it head-on. Not halfway, not when it's convenient. Fully. That means dedicating focused time, attention, and energy to it. That means working on it with the same seriousness you would give to something urgent and important, because it is urgent and important. Full effort does not mean perfection. It means showing up completely. It means not holding back, not doing just enough to say you tried. It means putting in the work, staying with it until you've moved it forward in a meaningful way. You'll be surprised how quickly progress comes once you give something your full attention, instead of little scraps of time between distractions. When you give full effort to what you've been avoiding, something else happens. You start to rebuild self-trust. Every time you avoid something, you break a promise to yourself. You might not notice it, but deep down it chips away at your belief in your own word. When you finally do the thing you've been putting off, you repair that trust. You prove to yourself that you follow through. That makes you more confident in every other area of your life. There will be resistance. Expect it. Your mind will try to convince you to put it off again. You'll feel the urge to start something easier. You'll think of reasons why now is not the right time. This is the moment where you have to push through. That push is where the change happens. If you wait for the resistance to disappear before starting, you'll never begin. Break the task into parts if it feels overwhelming, but commit to starting now. You don't have to finish the entire thing today, but you must begin. You must engage with it fully enough that you can no longer say, "I haven't started yet." That's when momentum begins to work for you instead of against you. As you work on it, keep your focus steady. Avoid the temptation to multitask. Multitasking is just another form of avoidance, disguised as productivity. Put your phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Clear your space of anything that pulls your attention elsewhere. The thing you've avoided deserves and demands your undivided attention if you want to truly overcome it. While working on it, notice how your feelings shift. At first you might feel tense, anxious, or impatient. But as you stay with it, those feelings begin to change. You might start feeling a quiet satisfaction from making progress. You might even start enjoying the process. This is important because it teaches you something. The dread before starting is always worse than the reality of doing. When you commit to giving full effort, you have to decide in advance that you will not quit halfway. You have to see it through to a point where you can say honestly, "I gave it everything I had today." This is how you close the loop of avoid. Once you've put in that kind of effort, you'll look at the task differently. It will no longer be an intimidating shadow hanging over you. It will be something you've engaged with and taken control over. You'll also notice the ripple effect. When you finally tackle one thing you've avoided, it gives you the courage to face others. You start to see that the pattern of avoidance is not fixed. You can change it, and every time you do, you feel lighter, more capable, and more in control of your life. The reason this works is simple. The energy you spend avoiding something is often greater than the energy it takes to do it. You waste mental space thinking about it, worrying about it, and making plans to deal with it later. All that energy could be used to actually solve the problem. When you put your effort into doing rather than delaying, you free up energy for everything else that matters. This is not just about tasks, it's about parts of your life you've been avoiding improving. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's a skill you need for your work. These are not small things, they are the foundation of your future. And the longer you avoid them, the more you pay the price. The earlier you give them your best effort, the faster you see your life improve. It's also important to be honest about why you've been avoiding it. Sometimes it's fear of failure. Sometimes it's fear of success and the responsibility that comes with it. Sometimes it's a belief that you're not ready or not good enough. Facing the task directly forces you to face these beliefs, and when you see they are not as solid as you thought, you weaken them. Once you complete or make significant progress on the thing you've avoided, take a moment to recognize what you've done, not as a way to brag, but as a way to reinforce the habit. You want your mind to connect the feeling of progress with the act of facing what you've been avoiding. That positive reinforcement makes it easier to do it again in the future. Over time, you'll find that the things you once avoided no longer feel as heavy. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done instead of postponing it. And that identity shift is powerful. It changes how others see you. More importantly, it changes how you see yourself. The truth is, the thing you avoid the most often holds the key to the results you want the most. You can spend months or years working on easier things and still feel stuck, because the real obstacle was the one you kept avoiding. Once you deal with it directly, you remove that block, and progress accelerates. So look at your life right now. Identify the thing you've been avoiding. It might be obvious, it might be something you've quietly ignored for years. Make the choice to face it today. Give it your best effort. Do it not because it's easy, but because it matters. If you do this once, you'll feel relief. If you do it regularly, you'll transform your life. You'll no longer be a prisoner to the things you fear or dislike. You'll be in charge, and once you take charge, there's no going back to the old way of living. You'll know too well what it feels like to face what you've been avoiding, and win.
Chapter 4. Stop allowing small problems to control your focus. Most people lose more time, energy, and opportunity to small problems than they ever do to the big challenges in life. Big challenges are easy to spot. They demand attention. They force you to think, plan, and take action. But small problems are different. They sneak into your day quietly. They seem harmless at first, but if you give them too much attention, they grow. They consume hours of thought and drain the focus you could be using to build something meaningful. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control what you choose to focus on. That choice decides whether you spend your days moving forward or getting stuck in circles. Every time you allow a small problem to dominate your thinking, you hand over control of your time and your direction. What could have been a brief inconvenience becomes the center of your day. And if you let this happen often, it becomes the center of your life. Small problems are often temporary. They solve themselves with time or with a simple action. But when you magnify them in your mind, they start feeling bigger than they are.
This magnification happens when you replay them over and over in your thoughts. Instead of using your focus to find a quick solution, you use it to relive frustration, annoyance, or irritation. That repetition makes the problem feel urgent when it's not. It's not that you should ignore every small problem. Some require attention, but not all require the kind of deep focus you give to your biggest goals. The danger is in letting them occupy the same mental space as your true priorities. When that happens, the small problem begins to feel equal to the things that really matter, and it steals the attention those things deserve. One of the most powerful skills you can develop is the ability to put a small problem in its proper place. That means looking at it for what it is, deciding how much energy it deserves, and then moving on. If it can be fixed in a few minutes, do it and forget it. If it can't be fixed right away, set it aside until the right time comes. But do not let it sit in your mind all day, shaping your mood and lowering your productivity. There's a mental discipline to this. You have to train yourself to pause when a small problem appears. Ask yourself, will this still matter tomorrow, next week, next month? Often, the answer is no. And if it won't matter in the near future, why give it the power to control your present? Small problems often disguise themselves as something urgent, simply because they interrupt your flow. You might be working on something important when an email arrives, or a minor inconvenience pops up. Your instinct is to react immediately. But reacting immediately to every small problem is like leaving your front door open for distractions to walk in anytime they want. Instead, you need to protect your focus. Decide in advance what deserves your attention right now, and treat everything else as secondary. This is not avoidance, it's prioritization. You're choosing to give your best mental energy to the work, goals, and relationships that truly move your life forward, not to the minor disruptions that appear along the way. It's also worth understanding that some small problems exist only in your perspective. They feel big because they touch a sensitive spot, maybe a fear, insecurity, or old frustration. When this happens, you're not reacting to the problem itself, you're reacting to what it represents to you. By recognizing this, you can step back and see it more clearly. Once you see it clearly, it loses some of its power over you. Allowing small problems to dominate your focus is costly. It keeps you reactive instead of proactive. It trains your mind to look for the next small irritation instead of looking for your next big opportunity. Over time, this habit can make you feel like life is made up of nothing but interruptions and annoyances, when in reality, the interruptions are just a tiny part of the whole picture. The people who create meaningful progress in life are not the ones who never face small problems. They are the ones who know how to keep those problems in perspective. They deal with them quickly. They give them the attention they deserve, and then they return their focus to what matters most. To master this, you need a personal system for handling small problems. The first part is awareness, catching yourself when you're giving too much thought to something minor. The second part is decision, asking yourself how much time and energy this truly needs. The third part is action, resolving it quickly, or setting it aside. And the final part is release, letting it go mentally, so it no longer occupies space in your mind. If you skip the release part, the problem stays alive in your thoughts. You might keep thinking about how unfair it was, how inconvenient it was, or how it made you feel. This is where the real damage happens. The problem itself might have been solved in minutes, but you carry it with you for hours. That mental baggage slows you down. Your focus is one of your most valuable resources. Every bit of it you spend on something unimportant is focus you can't use for what really matters. This is why you must guard it carefully. Think of your focus as a currency you invest each day. Invest it in the things that bring you closer to the life you want, not in the things that pull you further away. You'll notice that the more you practice keeping your focus on what matters, the less small problems affect you. They still happen, but they don't stick to you.
You handle them and keep moving. This creates a sense of momentum and control. You feel more in charge of your day because you're no longer being pulled in every direction by minor issues. There's also a psychological benefit. When you stop allowing small problems to control your focus, you feel lighter. You don't carry the same level of mental clutter. Your mind becomes clearer, and with that clarity comes better decision-making. You're able to think about the bigger picture instead of getting stuck in the details that don't really matter. It's important to note that some people unconsciously look for small problems to focus on, because it distracts them from the bigger challenges they don't want to face. This can become a cycle. You tell yourself you're busy dealing with issues, but you're really avoiding the deeper work that would create meaningful change. Recognizing this tendency is the first step to breaking it. If you want to live with greater purpose, you have to resist the temptation to let every small inconvenience derail you. This doesn't mean you become careless or dismissive. It means you make a conscious choice about where your attention goes. You decide that your mental energy is too valuable to be spent on things that don't matter in the long run. By doing this, you'll notice that your productivity rises, your mood improves, you have more patience for the things that truly deserve it, and most importantly, you start making consistent progress on the work and goals that actually matter. This is a skill you can start building today. The next time a small problem shows up, stop and measure it against your larger priorities. Decide how much of your focus it truly deserves. Deal with it accordingly. Then move forward. Over time, this becomes a habit that frees you from the constant pull of distractions and keeps you focused on building the life you want. If you live this way consistently, small problems will no longer have the power to dictate the quality of your day. You'll remain steady even when interruptions happen, and that steadiness will allow you to move toward your goals faster than you ever could when your attention was scattered. The real change comes when you realize you have a choice. You don't have to give small problems control over your focus. You can decide right now to keep your attention where it matters most. And when you do, your days start feeling lighter, clearer, and far more productive. Not because life stopped giving you problems, but because you stopped letting the small ones run your life.
Chapter 5. Choose one change and let it guide your choices. Real change doesn't always start with a long list of improvements or a complicated plan. It often begins with one clear decision to make a single meaningful change, and to let that change guide the way you live from this moment forward. This is not about trying to transform everything at once. It's about picking one change that matters deeply to you and allowing it to influence the choices you make every day. When you choose one change, you remove the chaos of trying to do too much at the same time. Many people overwhelm themselves with countless goals, switching their focus from one thing to another until nothing gets completed. That approach spreads your attention thin, and progress feels slow. But when you commit to one change and put your full attention into it, the impact becomes much greater. The change you choose should be something that has the potential to affect many areas of your life. It could be improving your health, becoming more disciplined with your time, committing to learning a skill, managing your money better, or strengthening your relationships. The key is to pick something that matters so much that you're willing to make decisions based on it. Once you decide, every choice you make needs to align with that change. This is where it becomes powerful. You stop making random decisions based on mood or convenience. You start measuring your actions against the commitment you made. If the action supports your change, you do it. If it doesn't, you walk away from it. This gives you a sense of clarity and direction that most people never experience. Choosing one change also forces you to confront habits and patterns that have been holding you back. You start noticing how often your old behaviors pull you away from your new direction. The moment you see it, you have the chance to replace it with something better. This process is uncomfortable at first, but it's also where real transformation happens. Consistency is everything here. Choosing one change won't do much if you treat it as a side project. It has to become the main driver of your decisions. That means staying committed on the days you feel motivated and on the days you don't. It means not letting temporary moods or distractions pull you away from what you decided. The more you follow through, the more natural it becomes to live in alignment with your choice. This approach works because it simplifies decision-making. Instead of asking yourself dozens of questions every time you face a choice, you ask only one. Does this action support the change I've committed to? If the answer is yes, it belongs in your day. If the answer is no, you let it go. Over time, this clarity saves you from wasting energy on things that don't matter. You'll also begin to notice how this one change starts influencing more than you expected. For example, if you choose to improve your health, you'll naturally begin to eat better, sleep better, and move more. But you might also find yourself managing your time better, because now you value rest and energy. If you choose to become more disciplined with your time, you might find that your relationships improve because you're more present and dependable. One change has a way of spilling over into the rest of your life. There will be challenges. The pull of old habits will still be there. Some days you'll be tempted to go back to the way things were. But if you've chosen a change that truly matters, it will feel worth protecting. You have to remind yourself why you made this decision in the first place. Keep your reason visible in your mind. This will help you push through moments of doubt or distraction. You don't need to explain your choice to everyone. Some people will understand, others won't. What matters is that you understand it. The moment you start seeking approval for your change, you give away the control you need to keep it alive. Your change should be driven by your values, your priorities, and your vision for your life. Another important part of this process is patience. One change, even when followed consistently, takes time to show results. You might not see major differences in the first week, or even the first month, but if you keep going, the results start to build. The changes may be subtle at first, but they compound. What starts as a small adjustment becomes a natural part of how you live. You also have to be willing to make adjustments as you go. Choosing one change doesn't mean locking yourself into a rigid plan that never evolves. As you move forward, you'll learn what works and what doesn't. You might need to refine your approach, set new boundaries, or increase your commitment. That's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of growth. When you let one change guide your choices, you become more intentional about your time, energy, and resources. You stop scattering them across things that don't serve you. You begin to see progress where before there was only frustration, and that progress motivates you to keep going. It's worth mentioning that this approach also helps you build discipline without feeling overwhelmed. Discipline grows from doing what you said you'd do, even when it's not easy. By focusing on one change, you give yourself the chance to practice discipline in a way that's realistic and sustainable. Each day you stick with it, you strengthen the habit of following through. As weeks and months go by, your chosen change becomes part of your identity. It's no longer just something you're working on, it's something you live by. People around you will notice the difference. They'll see the consistency in your actions and the results you're creating. Some might even start asking what's changed for you. The answer will be simple. You decided on one change and let it guide your life. Over time, you'll reach a point where this change no longer feels like effort. It's just who you are now. At that stage, you can choose another meaningful change and go through the same process again. By building your life this way, one intentional change at a time, you create lasting transformation without the burnout that comes from trying to do everything at once. The beauty of this method is that it puts you in control. You're not reacting to life anymore, you're shaping it. You're making deliberate choices instead of being pulled in every direction by habit, convenience, or outside pressure. That level of control is rare, but it's available to anyone willing to commit to one change and live by it. If you've been feeling stuck, scattered, or unsure where to start, this is your starting point. Choose the change that would make the biggest difference in your life right now. Commit to it fully. Let it be the filter for every choice you make. Stay with it until it becomes second nature. And then, when the time is right, choose your next change. This isn't a quick fix. It's a way of living. It's a way of ensuring that your actions match your values and that your days move you toward the life you want. One change at a time, you build something solid, something real, something that lasts. And when you look back, you'll see that everything started with a single decision. The decision to choose one change and let it guide your choices.
Chapter 6. Hold yourself to a higher standard in every action. The way you live each day is shaped by the standards you set for yourself. If your standards are low, your results will reflect that. If your standards are high, everything you do carries a different level of care, precision, and purpose. Holding yourself to a higher standard in every action is not about chasing perfection. It's about expecting more from yourself than what is merely average or convenient. It's about deciding that everything you put your name on should reflect your best effort, no matter how small the task. When you raise your standards, you raise the baseline for your life. You no longer accept good enough just because it's easier. You don't settle for work that meets the bare minimum when you know you can do better. You stop excusing careless mistakes or sloppy habits by telling yourself they don't matter. Every action matters. Every choice either reinforces your standards or lowers them. High standards are not about showing off or proving something to others. They are about self-respect. They are about knowing you're capable of more and refusing to live below that level. This is deeply personal. No one else can set your standards for you. You decide them, you commit to them, and you live by them. The change begins in the smallest details. If you're going to do something, do it with full attention. If you're speaking to someone, give them your presence instead of half listening while you think about something else. If you're completing a task, make sure it's done well enough that you'd be proud to attach your name to it. This kind of thinking changes how you show up in every area of life. You will notice quickly that raising your standards requires discipline. It's easier to take shortcuts. It's easier to rush through things just to be done with them. But the cost of those shortcuts adds up over time. Every time you lower your standards to save effort in the moment, you make it easier to do it again. Before long, it becomes a habit to deliver less than you're capable of. That habit silently erodes your potential. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you stand out without trying to. People notice when someone cares about the quality of their work. They notice when someone follows through on promises without excuses. They notice when someone consistently goes beyond the basic requirement. And in a world where many settle for doing just enough, this difference becomes a powerful advantage. Raising your standards also changes how you see yourself. You begin to take more pride in your actions because you know they represent your best. That pride builds confidence, and that confidence fuels even higher standards. It becomes a cycle that keeps pushing you upward instead of pulling you down. This does not mean you never make mistakes. Mistakes will happen, but when you hold yourself to a higher standard, you own them quickly. You fix them without blaming others or making excuses. You see them as opportunities to improve, rather than proof that you should lower your expectations. High standards affect more than your work. They influence your health, your relationships, your habits, and your mindset. If you hold yourself to a higher standard physically, you won't neglect your health
until it becomes a problem. If you hold yourself to a higher standard in relationships, you'll treat people with respect and keep your word. If you hold yourself to a higher standard mentally, you won't let yourself stay in a negative mindset without working to shift it. Some people avoid high standards because they fear the pressure that comes with them. But the pressure is not the enemy. It's a sign that you're aiming higher than before. And when you live up to your own standards, that pressure turns into pride. You begin to see that holding yourself accountable is not a burden. It's a privilege. You can't fake high standards for long. They have to come from a genuine decision to live differently. They require you to set boundaries with yourself. You can't say one thing and consistently do another. You can't tell yourself you value quality and then repeatedly accept mediocrity in your actions. The moment you allow that, your standards start to slide. Raising your standards is a personal choice, but it will have a ripple effect. The people around you will adjust to the way you operate. Some will rise to meet your level. Others may distance themselves because they're not ready to match it. That's fine. You're not raising your standards to please others. You're doing it because you want to live a life you're proud of. In practical terms, this means asking yourself one question throughout the day. Is this my best work? If the answer is no, improve it. If the answer is yes, you can move forward, knowing you've done your part. Over time, you'll start to ask that question automatically, and it will guide your decisions without you having to think about it. It's also important to realize that raising your standards is not about working yourself into exhaustion. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that if you're going to put your time into something, it's going to be done well. That mindset leads to better results without the waste of redoing things or living with regret over a half-hearted effort. Your standards also determine how you handle adversity. When challenges come, someone with low standards will look for the easiest way out. Someone with high standards will look for the right way forward, even if it's harder. This difference in response often decides who grows stronger from challenges and who gets stuck in them. Holding yourself to a higher standard is not just about the big moments. It's about the daily actions no one else may notice. It's about choosing to keep your commitments even when it would be easier to break them. It's about showing up on time, prepared, and ready to give your best. It's about having the integrity to do the right thing when no one is watching. Over time, this way of living changes your identity. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who tries to do better, and start thinking of yourself as someone who always gives their best. And when you see yourself that way, you live up to it more and more. One of the greatest benefits of holding yourself to a higher standard is the freedom it gives you. You no longer wonder if you could have done better. You no longer live with the frustration of knowing you cut corners. You no longer feel the need to defend or justify your actions, because your actions speak for themselves. This is not an overnight change. It's something you build through repetition. Every time you choose to give your best instead of the minimum, you strengthen the habit. Every time you correct a mistake instead of ignoring it, you strengthen the habit. Every time you hold yourself accountable instead of blaming circumstances, you strengthen the habit. Soon, your higher standard will feel normal, and from that new baseline, you can raise it again. You'll find yourself constantly improving, not because you have to, but because it's who you are now. And that's when you realize this isn't just about standards. It's about living a life that reflects your values in every action you take. If you live by this principle, you will stand out. You will earn trust, respect, and opportunities that others miss. You will feel the satisfaction that comes from knowing you demand the best from yourself, not just sometimes, but in everything you do. And when you look back years from now, you'll see that this decision shaped the course of your life in ways you could never have predicted.
Chapter 7. Follow through on what you say without delaying. The strength of a person's character is often revealed in how well they follow through on what they say. Words are easy to speak, promises are easy to make, but it's the act of doing exactly what you said you would do
and doing it without delay that separates those who can be relied on from those who are only good at talking. Following through is about trust. Trust in yourself and trust from others. And every time you delay, you weaken that trust. When you tell yourself you'll do something and you put it off, you send a message to your own mind that your words don't carry weight. The more you do this, the more your brain starts to treat your own commitments as optional. This is dangerous because your sense of discipline and responsibility starts to erode. You might convince yourself it's harmless because the delay feels small, but each delay builds a habit of hesitation. And hesitation is the enemy of momentum. Doing what you said you'd do without delay builds an entirely different habit. It trains you to take action now instead of later. It gives your words power because you've proven to yourself that you can be trusted. You stop thinking of tasks as something you plan to do and start thinking of them as something you will do now. That mindset shift changes how you approach everything in your life. When you take action immediately after making a commitment, you remove the space where doubt, fear, and laziness can creep in. The longer you wait, the easier it becomes to talk yourself out of doing it. You start finding reasons why today isn't the right time. You promise yourself you'll get to it tomorrow. And soon enough, tomorrow becomes next week, and the next week becomes never. But if you start right away, you bypass that entire chain of excuses. Following through without delay is also a sign of respect. Respect for yourself and for the people you deal with. When you keep your word quickly, you show that your promises are not just polite gestures, but real commitment. People begin to see you as someone dependable, someone whose word can be trusted without question. That kind of reputation is rare, and it opens doors in both personal and professional life. This principle applies to every kind of promise, even the ones you make to yourself. If you tell yourself you're going to wake up earlier, do it tomorrow, not next month. If you decide to start exercising, begin today, not after you've bought new shoes or waited for the perfect weather. If you tell yourself you're going to learn a new skill, open the first lesson today, not after you feel ready. The more you act immediately, the easier it becomes to trust yourself. It's not about rushing blindly into action. It's about building the reflex to begin. You can still plan and prepare, but those steps should also start right away. Too many people mistake endless preparation for progress. Preparation without execution is just delay in disguise. Real progress begins when you start taking steps, no matter how small. When you act quickly, you also give yourself the advantage of momentum. Momentum makes hard things easier because it carries you forward once you've started. But momentum only builds from movement, not from thinking about movement. The faster you begin after making a decision, the faster momentum works in your favor. Some people believe they work better under pressure, so they intentionally wait until the last minute. While it might seem to work in isolated cases, this approach trains you to depend on stress as a motivator. It's a risky habit because there will come a time when the pressure is too much and your work or commitment will suffer. Acting without delay removes the need for artificial urgency. Instead, you build the habit of consistent, steady progress. Following through without delay also protects you from the mental clutter of unfinished tasks. Every time you leave something undone, it stays in your mind. You might try to ignore it, but it's there, quietly pulling at your focus. The more unfinished commitments you have, the heavier that mental weight becomes. By acting quickly, you clear that weight before it can pile up. You give yourself a sense of completion that frees your mind to focus on the next thing. One of the strongest forms of self-confidence comes from knowing you can rely on yourself to do what you said you'd do. Confidence isn't just about believing in your abilities, it's about trusting your own follow-through. If you've built a history of keeping your word without delay, you don't hesitate when opportunities appear. You don't waste time questioning whether you'll follow through. You know you will. That certainty gives you a calm but powerful presence. This doesn't mean you say yes to everything. Part of following through is being careful about what you commit to in the first place. If you agree to things carelessly, you'll either stretch yourself too thin or break your promises. High standards in following through start with high standards in saying yes. Commit only to what you intend to do and can do well, then deliver on it without waiting for the perfect time. It's also important to recognize that following through quickly doesn't always mean finishing something instantly. Some commitments are long-term by nature, but even in these cases, immediate follow-through means taking the first real step right away and setting the process in motion. For example, if you commit to writing a book, you may not finish it today, but you can write the first page today. That immediate start is what separates doers from talkers. There will be moments when you don't feel like acting right away. This is where discipline matters most. Discipline means doing it anyway, not because it's comfortable but because it's necessary. The habit of following through without delay is built in these moments, the moments when you move forward despite resistance. Every time you do, you weaken the power of procrastination over your life. If you've built a habit of delaying, it will feel strange at first to act immediately. Your old patterns will try to pull you back. You might feel the urge to wait for a better time, or to tell yourself you'll start later. This is the moment to break the pattern. Even a small, imperfect step forward now is worth more than a perfect plan tomorrow. The rewards of living this way are far-reaching. You become known as someone people can trust. You develop a stronger sense of integrity. You feel lighter because you're not carrying a backlog of unfulfilled promises. And most importantly, you build a kind of momentum in life that makes it easier to take on bigger and more meaningful challenges. Following through on what you say without delaying is not just a habit, it's a standard of living. It's a decision to be the kind of person whose actions match their words every time. It's a way of showing respect for your own time and for the trust others place in you. And when you live this way consistently, you will find that opportunities come to you more often because people know you will deliver. The choice is simple but powerful. When you say it, do it. Do it now, not late. Each time you follow this principle, you strengthen your reliability, your discipline, and your belief in yourself. And over time, you'll see that this one habit can transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself, as someone who means every word they speak and proves it through action.
Chapter 8. End your day knowing you did your absolute best. There's a certain peace that comes from ending your day knowing you gave everything you had. It's the feeling of going to bed without the weight of unfinished effort or the regret of knowing you could have done more. That peace doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you live each day with a clear intention to do your best in everything you touch, from the smallest tasks to the most important responsibilities. It's not about perfection. It's about walking away from the day with the certainty that you showed up fully, with no holding back. Doing your absolute best each day is a personal choice. No one else can measure it for you because it's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about looking yourself in the mirror and knowing you honored your own potential. Some days your best will be intense and high energy. Other days, your best might be slower and more measured because you're working through fatigue, stress, or challenges. But even then, you can still give your all to what you can do in that moment. This approach to living forces you to stop settling for good enough. It challenges you to take ownership of your actions, decisions, and attitude from the time you wake up until you close your eyes at night. It means showing up to your commitments fully, even when you don't feel like it. It means focusing on the work that matters instead of wasting time on distractions that leave you with nothing to show for the day. If you want to end each day knowing you've done your best, you need to start the day with clarity. You can't give your best to a day that's unfocused and chaotic.
You have to decide early on what truly matters and what you will commit yourself to completing. Without that clarity, it's easy to waste hours on things that don't matter and then feel frustrated when the day ends. The best days are built on clear priorities and the discipline to protect them from unnecessary interruptions. Giving your best also means respecting the time you've been given. Every day is a limited resource. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. When you recognize this, you naturally start treating your hours with more care. You stop spending them on meaningless activities just to pass the time. Instead, you use them to work toward your goals, deepen your relationships, and take care of your health and well-being. The truth is, ending the day proud of your effort requires self-awareness. You have to be honest about where you've been holding back. Maybe you've been doing just enough to get by in your work. Maybe you've been avoiding difficult conversations that could solve long-standing issues. Maybe you've been putting off decisions that you know would move your life forward. These are the areas where your best is waiting to be given. When you lean into them, the quality of your day rises instantly. One of the most powerful ways to ensure you give your best is to eliminate the habit of leaving things for later. Later rarely comes in the way you expect it to. If you have the chance to do something now, do it. If you can solve a problem today, don't let it roll into tomorrow. This creates momentum and frees you from the mental weight of carrying unfinished work from one day to the next. Another key part of doing your best is how you handle the moments when things don't go your way. It's easy to give full effort when everything is smooth. The real test comes when the day is filled with challenges, delays, and frustrations. Your best in those moments might look different, but it's just as important. It might mean staying calm under pressure, thinking clearly when others are panicking, or pushing through discomfort to finish what you started. The way you show up in those moments often defines the standard you set for yourself. You also have to learn to let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism is not the same as giving your best. Perfectionism is about obsessing over details to avoid the discomfort of moving forward. Giving your best is about doing the highest quality work you can in the time and circumstances you have, then moving on. If you're constantly holding back progress because something isn't perfect yet, you're not giving your best, you're giving your fear control. At the end of the day, doing your best is not measured only by results. Some days you will work hard and still face setbacks. That doesn't mean you failed. If you can look back and know you acted with integrity, stayed focused, and put in honest effort, you can rest with confidence. Results will come over time, but the habit of giving your all every day builds the foundation for those results to happen. To live this way, you have to train yourself to close each day with reflection. Take a few minutes in the evening to review your day. Ask yourself, did I give my full attention to the things that mattered? Did I avoid wasting time on things that don't serve me? Did I handle challenges with the best attitude I could? If the answer is yes, you can go to bed knowing you lived well today. If the answer is no, don't dwell in guilt. Use it as a signal to make tomorrow stronger. There's also a deep emotional benefit to this way of living. When you know you've done your best, you feel lighter. You're not burdened by what if or I should have thoughts. You don't carry the frustration of knowing you left your potential unused. Instead, you feel a quiet pride that builds day after day. That pride becomes motivation to keep living at a high standard. Some people think doing your best is exhausting, but in reality, it's energizing. Half-hearted effort drains you because you know you're not fully engaged. You're constantly fighting with yourself. Part of you wants to perform well, and part of you wants to take the easy way out. That internal conflict wears you down. But when you commit fully, your energy flows in one direction. You feel more focused and alive because you're not holding back. Over time, the habit of ending each day with your best effort changes your identity.
You start to see yourself as someone who doesn't waste their days, someone who takes their commitments seriously, someone who refuses to settle for mediocrity in any part of life. And when you see yourself that way, your actions naturally rise to meet that identity. This way of living also builds trust with the people around you. When others see that you consistently give your best, they learn that you can be counted on. They know you will deliver what you promise. They know you will show up with focus and intention. That kind of trust is valuable in relationships, in work, and in every part of life. If you want to live a life you're proud of, start by aiming to close each day with the knowledge that you gave your all. Some days will be easier than others. Some will test you in ways you didn't expect. But every day you show up fully is a victory. Every day you go to bed knowing you left nothing important undone is a step toward a life of strength, purpose, and fulfillment. And when you make this your standard, you stop asking, "Did I do enough today?" You already know the answer. You lived the day with intention, gave everything that mattered your focus and effort, and left no space for regret. That's the kind of day worth repeating over and over again until it becomes the way you live your life.
Chapter 9. Cut the habits that make you feel disappointed. There are certain habits in life that quietly eat away at your confidence and sense of self-respect. They don't always cause immediate damage, but they leave a mark every time you repeat them. You know the ones, the small actions, the repeated choices, the patterns you keep falling into that leave you feeling frustrated, guilty, or ashamed afterward. They may feel harmless in the moment, but over time, they build a deep sense of disappointment in yourself. If you want to grow, if you want to respect the person you see in the mirror, you have to cut these habits out completely. The most damaging thing about these habits is not the habit itself, but what it does to your belief in your own discipline. Every time you give in to one of them, you send a message to yourself that you can't fully trust your own word. That message becomes part of your self-image, and the longer you allow it, the harder it is to break free. This is why eliminating them is not just about changing behavior, it's about rebuilding the trust you have in yourself. The first step in cutting these habits is identifying them honestly. You can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge. Think about the moments that leave you feeling regret. Think about the times you told yourself you'd make a better choice, but didn't. Look at the patterns that keep showing up in your daily life. Maybe it's wasting hours on mindless scrolling instead of working on something meaningful. Maybe it's staying up late when you promised yourself you'd get more rest. Maybe it's eating in a way that leaves you feeling sluggish and guilty. Maybe it's avoiding responsibilities until the last minute and then rushing through them with half the quality you're capable of. Once you've identified these habits, you have to face the truth. They are not harmless. They are shaping your future in ways you may not notice day to day. They lower your standards without you realizing it. They chip away at your motivation. They keep you in cycles you swore you would escape from. And every time you repeat them, the disappointment grows. Cutting these habits requires more than willpower in the moment. You need to change the conditions that allow them to thrive. That means removing triggers, restructuring your environment, and replacing them with actions that lead to pride instead of regret. If scrolling your phone late at night is draining your time and energy, set it aside in another room before bed. If procrastination is your pattern, break your tasks into smaller, more approachable steps, and start immediately instead of waiting for motivation to appear. If unhealthy eating habits are holding you back, stop keeping the foods that tempt you most within easy reach. It's important to understand that habits live in repetition. They survive because you keep giving them attention. The moment you start starving them of repetition, they begin to weaken. But the opposite is also true. The more often you give in, the stronger they become. That's why you need to commit to stopping them fully, instead of cutting back here and there. Partial commitment keeps them alive. Full commitment begins to kill them.
There will be moments where the temptation to fall back into the habit is strong. You'll hear the same excuses in your mind. It's just once, I've been doing well lately, so it's fine, or I'll stop after this time. Those are the same lies that have kept the habit alive until now. If you want to truly cut it, you have to reject those lies every single time they appear. You have to remind yourself that every time you choose not to give in, you're building a stronger version of yourself. You'll also have to replace the habit with something that aligns with the kind of person you want to become. Cutting a habit leaves a gap, and if you don't fill that gap, something else will, often another bad habit. If late night scrolling is your weakness, replace it with reading something that expands your mind. If procrastination keeps hurting you, replace it with a quick, focused burst of action as soon as you think of the task. If junk food is the problem, replace it with healthier choices that still feel satisfying. As you work on cutting these habits, you'll notice something powerful. Your confidence begins to return. The disappointment that used to weigh you down starts to lift. You feel lighter because you're no longer carrying the guilt of knowing you're working against yourself. And as that confidence builds, you'll be more willing to take on challenges you avoided before, because you now trust yourself to follow through. It's also important to remember that cutting these habits is not about punishing yourself, it's about freeing yourself. Every bad habit you remove is one less chain holding you to a version of yourself you no longer want to be. This isn't about living in constant restriction, it's about creating space for better things to take root in your life. Some people convince themselves that the habits they have aren't really that bad because everyone does it, or it's just part of life. But this is not about other people. This is about you and how you feel about your own choices. If something consistently leaves you feeling disappointed in yourself, it's a problem. No matter how common it is, you can't build a strong, confident life on top of behaviors that make you feel weak. One thing you'll discover is that cutting these habits also changes how others see you. People notice when you raise your standards. They may not know the details, but they can see the difference in your focus, your energy, and your consistency. They begin to trust you more, respect you more, and in many cases, they're inspired to make changes in their own lives. Cutting a disappointing habit isn't a single moment. It's a process of replacing the identity you've been living with, one that demands more from yourself. You might stumble once or twice, but the key is not to settle back into the old way. The key is to get up immediately and recommit. The more quickly you bounce back, the less chance the habit has to regain its strength. Over time, the effort you put into this will the small wins will stack up. The good habits you've replaced the bad ones with will start to feel natural. The moments of disappointment will become rarer until one day you realize they've been replaced by moments of pride. That's when you know you've truly turned the corner. If you want to feel proud of your life instead of frustrated by it, you can't carry habits that keep pulling you down. They have to go. You don't need to keep proving to yourself that these habits make you feel bad. You already know they do. The only thing left is to remove them and move towards something better. When you finally let them go, you create space for progress. You create room for discipline to grow stronger, for focus to sharpen, and for confidence to return. And that is worth far more than the momentary comfort those habits used to give you. The relief of breaking free from something that has kept you small is one of the most empowering feelings you can experience. So identify them, remove them, replace them, protect yourself from falling back into them, and keep going until the person you see in the mirror is no longer someone you feel disappointed in, but someone you're proud to be. Because that is when you'll know you've not only cut the habits that make you feel disappointed, you've replaced them with habits that make you proud of who you are becoming.
Chapter 10. Keep proving to yourself that you can stay strong. Strength is not something you prove to others once and then carry forever. It's something you keep proving to yourself over and over again through the way you live. Life will test you repeatedly. It will send challenges that shake your confidence, temptations that pull you off track, and moments where giving up looks easier than pushing forward. In those moments, the only thing that matters is whether you choose to stand firm or step back. Staying strong is not just about winning in big moments, it's about refusing to abandon yourself in the small daily choices that shape who you are. Every time you hold your ground when it would be easier to give in, you're proving to yourself that you have what it takes. It doesn't matter if the challenge is resisting an old habit, staying disciplined with your goals, or following through on a commitment when you're tired and unmotivated. These moments are where strength is built. They may not look dramatic to anyone else, but inside you know the decision you made. You know you could have chosen the easier path, but you didn't. That's what strengthens your belief in yourself. The truth is, strength fades if you stop using it. Just like muscles weaken when you stop exercising, your inner resilience weakens when you stop challenging it. That's why you have to keep finding ways to test yourself, to push your limits, and to remind yourself of your capacity. If life isn't currently testing you, create your own challenges, set goals that stretch you. Take on responsibilities that force you to grow. Choose the harder but better path even when the easier one is available. Strength is not about pretending things don't affect you. It's about feeling the difficulty and deciding you will not let it break you. You can be tired and still move forward. You can be uncertain and still make a decision. You can be afraid and still take action. Every time you do, you're building the kind of strength that lasts. You're showing yourself that your emotions don't have to dictate your actions. There's another side to staying strong that often gets overlooked: the consistency factor. Strength is not just the ability to endure a single hard day. It's the ability to keep showing up on day 2, day 10, day 100, when the excitement has faded and all that's left is discipline. Many people can push hard for a short burst. Few can keep going when progress is slow or invisible. But that's exactly when your strength matters most. You prove your strength when you keep going even though no one is watching. You prove it when you make good choices even when there's no applause for them. You prove it when you take the long view and stay committed even when the payoff is far in the future. The person who can do this consistently becomes unstoppable because their strength doesn't rely on outside validation. It comes from within. To stay strong, you have to remember why you're doing it. Strength without a reason feels empty. Strength with a purpose feels unshakable. Your reason can be personal. Maybe it's about living up to the standard you've set for yourself, building a better life for your family, or proving to yourself that you won't quit like you did in the past. Whatever it is, keep it clear in your mind. When you feel like breaking, your reason will be what holds you together. It's also important to pay attention to the small victories along the way. Strength is not just in surviving the huge battles, it's in winning the small ones daily. It's in choosing to get up when you don't feel like it. It's in staying focused when distractions call your name. It's in speaking up when it would be easier to stay silent. These wins are proof that you're capable, and each one adds another layer to your strength. Sometimes staying strong means making the hard choice to let go of things that weaken you. It could be letting go of people who drain your energy, cutting habits that hold you back, or walking away from situations that compromise your values. These decisions can be uncomfortable, but they're acts of strength because they protect your long-term growth over short-term comfort. You also have to be aware that strength is not built in comfort zones. Comfort zones feel safe, but they slowly weaken you. If you never push yourself into discomfort, your ability to handle life's difficulties shrinks. Strength grows when you step into situations where you might fail, where you might be challenged, where you have to work harder than you thought you could. These are the moments that make you tougher, more confident, and more resilient. One of the most empowering feelings in life is looking back on a challenge you thought might break you and realizing you made it through. That memory becomes a source of power you can draw on when the next challenge comes. You can remind yourself, I've been through worse, and I made it. I can handle this too. But to have those memories, you first have to face the challenges, instead of running from them. Keeping yourself strong also means guarding your mind against the thoughts that try to weaken it. Doubt will always whisper that you can't handle something. Fear will always try to convince you to play it safe. Comfort will always tempt you to stop. Your job is to challenge those thoughts with evidence from your own life, all the times you've proven them wrong before. Feed your mind with examples of your own resilience, not reasons to surrender it. It's worth saying that staying strong doesn't mean you never feel low. Strength includes the ability to recover quickly after a setback. You might get knocked down, but strength is in how fast you stand up again. You might make mistakes, but strength is in refusing to let those mistakes define you. You might have days where your energy is low, but strength is in doing what you can with what you have instead of quitting altogether. And when you keep proving to yourself that you can stay strong, something powerful happens. You begin to expect it from yourself. You stop doubting whether you'll show up. You stop wondering if you'll keep going. You know you will because you've built a history that proves it. That history becomes your foundation, and it makes you harder to shake no matter what life throws at you. This way of living changes your relationship with challenges. Instead of seeing them as threats, you start seeing them as threats. You start seeing them as opportunities to reaffirm your strength. Every difficulty becomes a test you're ready to take. Every obstacle becomes a chance to show yourself that you can rise to the occasion. And with each one you overcome, your sense of self-respect grows deeper. Over time you'll realize that the most valuable thing about staying strong is not what you achieve, but who you become. You become someone you can count on in every situation. You become someone who knows that no matter what happens, you'll find a way through it. That kind of self-trust is rare, and once you have it, you protect it fiercely. So keep proving it. Keep showing up when it would be easier not to. Keep saying no to the things that weaken you. Keep leaning into challenges instead of backing away. Keep reminding yourself that you've faced hard things before, and you'll face them again. And you'll still stand, because the truth is, strength is not given, it's earned, over and over again, by the way you choose to live each day. And the more you choose to stay strong, the more unshakable you become.